The most influential theologian in Islam, Judaism, and Christianity was none of them. He was a pagan Greek who worshipped Zeus. Aristotle died in 322 BCE, yet more than 1,000 years later, he became the intellectual backbone of three rival religions simultaneously. How did one philosopher achieve that? The answer lies in two qualities no one else could match, and a radical idea about God that changed everything. To understand why, we need to meet the man himself and his rival. Aristotle studied under Plato in Athens, tutored Alexander the Great, and lived in the 4th century BCE. But what set him apart wasn't his biography, it was his ambition. Aristotle wrote on everything: drama, poetry, politics, metaphysics, the study of the fundamental nature of reality, ethics, animals, physics. He was the world's first encyclopedic thinker. Compare that to Plato. Plato despised the material world. Right? Physical things were just shadows of perfect eternal forms. He focused narrowly on ethics, the good life, and the relationship between matter and spirit. Aristotle took the opposite view. He trusted the senses. He believed observation of nature leads to understanding of creation itself. Logical analysis could explain anything, from rocks to place to God. That combination of scope and method made Aristotle uniquely useful to religious thinkers who wanted to understand the whole world rationally. But Aristotle's most radical idea wasn't about animals or politics, it was about God. Aristotle's God is not a personal deity who answers prayers or intervenes in human affairs. It's a prime mover, a cosmic designer who sets the mechanism of the universe in motion, perhaps occasionally maintains it, but is fundamentally unconcerned with individual human lives. Here's the analogy that makes this click. Imagine you're walking along a path and you find a watch. Its gears interlock perfectly. Its hands move with precision. You naturally conclude someone designed it. But the watchmaker doesn't need to still be alive, doesn't need to care about the watch, and there certainly isn't listening if the watch prays. That's Aristotle's God. Now, this is not atheism. Aristotle absolutely believed in a divine principle. His God just wasn't personal or interventionist. Later, Western thought would call this deism, the belief that God created the universe but does not intervene in it. The world's design implies a creator, but the creator need not be present or concerned with its fate. This distinction matters. A personal God who listens and responds, and that's theism with two-way communication. Aristotle's prime mover sends the universe into motion, one direction, no return address. This idea, God as rational designer, proved irresistible, not to one religion, but to three. Across the medieval world, three towering thinkers from three different faiths arrived at the same conclusion. Aristotle was right, and his philosophy didn't threaten their religion, it strengthened it. Reason and faith are compatible. First, Averroes, known in Arabic as Ibn Rushd. Born in Cordoba, Spain in 1126, a Muslim jurist and the greatest commentator on Aristotle in the medieval world. Averroes argued that philosophy and revelation are two paths to the same truth. Second, Maimonides, born in Cordoba just 9 years later in 1135, a rabbi, physician, and courtier who eventually settled in Egypt. His masterwork, The Guide for the Perplexed, is an attempt to reconcile Aristotelian philosophy with Jewish scripture. Third, Thomas Aquinas. Born in Italy in 1225, he taught at the University of Paris. His Summa Theologica is the most systematic fusion of Aristotelian reason with Christian faith ever written. Three faiths, three continents, one philosopher at the center of all of them. But here's the twist that most people miss. Aquinas, the greatest Christian philosopher, never read a single word of Aristotle in Greek. He couldn't. The original Greek text had been lost to Western Europe for centuries. Aquinas knew Aristotle only through translations, and the path those translations traveled is one of history's great ironies. Here's how it worked. Aristotle wrote in Greek in the 4th century BCE. His texts survived in libraries across the ancient world. Starting in the 8th century, scholars at Baghdad's House of Wisdom translated those Greek originals into Arabic. Islamic philosophers, especially Averroes, didn't just translate. They studied, debated, and expanded on Aristotle's ideas for centuries. Then, in the 12th and 13th centuries, translation schools in Toledo, Spain, converted those Arabic texts into Latin, and that's how Aristotle reached Paris. That's how Aquinas read him, Greek to Arabic to Latin. The transmission chain means Islamic scholarship was literally the bridge that delivered ancient Greek philosophy to Christian Europe. Without Averroes, there may have been no Aquinas. The greatest Christian philosopher owes his intellectual foundation to Muslim scholars. So what does a 2,300-year-old Greek philosopher have to do with us? 3 things. First, ideas don't respect religious boundaries. The most important intellectual influence on medieval theology was a pagan who worshipped Zeus. Great ideas migrate. They cross borders, languages, and centuries. Second, the clash of civilizations narrative is historically illiterate. Islam, Christianity, and Judaism weren't sealed off from each other in separate intellectual boxes. They were in deep conversation for centuries, sharing the same philosophical hero, reading each other's commentaries, building on each other's work. The transmission chain from Greek to Arabic to Latin proves it. Third, the reason versus faith debate is ancient. Every time someone argues that science and religion are fundamentally incompatible, they're refighting a battle that Averroes, Maimonides, and Aquinas all thought they'd already won, on the side of compatibility. These 3 thinkers didn't see reason as a threat to faith. They saw it as faith's greatest ally. A pagan Greek who worshipped Zeus became the intellectual father of 3 monotheisms. His idea of God as a rational designer, a prime mover who builds the watch but doesn't answer its prayers, gave Jewish, Christian, and Islamic thinkers a shared framework for understanding the universe through reason. Averroes carried him in Arabic. Maimonides wove him into Jewish law. Aquinas built Christian theology on his foundations. 3 faiths, 1 philosopher. If that doesn't prove that the great ideas are bigger than any single tradition, nothing will.